Drew Cain was transported to surgery in severe condition on Wednesday, September 3, according to the General Hospital report. Anna Devane and Dante Falconeri, along with Harrison Chase, embarked on a high-stakes investigation to discover his attacker and more. During the September 3 episode of General Hospital, news of Drew's shooting began to spread across Port Charles. After Tracy Quartermain discovered her nephew, Anna and Dante began their inquiry, while Portia Robinson took advantage of an almost perfect situation. At the same time, Carly Spencer sought an open talk regarding her relationship with Jack Brennan. After assisting Jocelyn Jackson Vaughn, Britt Westbourne requested assistance from Jason Morgan. Read on for more information. First, a brief replay of Drew's gunshot was shown, while Trina Robinson and Kai Taylor hid in a bedroom and Drew got something from his safe. Holding a drink, the congressman approached the fireplace, gazing longingly at a framed picture of himself and Willow Tate, followed by her engagement ring. He placed the ring beside the photo and softly vowed that everything would be all right. Just as Drew completed his glass, a gunshot rang out. Trina and Kai trembled from their hiding location in the bedroom as Drew collapsed in the living room, having been shot in the back. A dark figure approached Drew and fired at close range before walking away. Trina and Kai emerge from Drew's bedroom, and Kai persuades Trina to accompany him. Kai first blocked Trina from leaving the bedroom to investigate, but after hearing someone leave the house, he left the room himself, clutching a softball bat. Trina followed him, not wanting to be alone in the room, and they saw Drew asleep on the living room floor. Because Drew had a pulse, Trina wanted to stop the bleeding and contact the cops, but Kai advised her to leave him alone. They could be held accountable because they broke into his home in the first place. When Kai noticed headlights in the front window, he told Trina to go through the rear door. Before leaving the house, Kai gently opened the front door. General Hospital recap September 3. Jack assures Carly, Pascal captures Britt, and Drew battles for life. Lucas Jones was searching for the missing Willow at the hospital, and Elizabeth Weber noted that her buddy had left her shift. In the hallway, Harrison Chase explained to Anna that Drew had a motivation to kill Judge Eva Heron in order to keep Willow reliant on him. Anna disagreed, claiming that Chase's judgment could be impacted by his relationship with Willow, but the investigator insisted that Drew could commit murder. Chase ultimately agreed with Anna that she was more objective about Willow than he was. Anna's excellent investigative logic disproved what Chase asserted about Drew's motivations. Willow suddenly returned, soaking wet and kind of out of it. Willow entered the GH emergency room, wet and soaked to the bone, and appeared to be out of it. Surprised by her friend's condition, Elizabeth inquired about her whereabouts, but Willow only stared at her in silence. Later, Liz told Lucas that Willow had returned. She had gone for a stroll to clear her mind after receiving some upsetting news and ended up in the rainfall. Lucas felt Liz was being very tolerant of Willow, and was frightened that her would be brought down by Nurse Tate. Elizabeth explained that she had been in difficulties before and received assistance, and she was simply paying it forward. Tracy approached Drew's front door, which opened, seeing her nephew bleeding on the living room floor. "Don't you dare die on me," she warned, checking for a pulse and dialing 911. Tracy insisted on accompanying Drew in the ambulance when paramedics carried him out, but Anna and Dante arrived before she could leave to investigate the murder scene. Tracy became distraught, telling Anna that she had come to speak with Drew about letting Emily Scout Cain to visit the family. She explained that because of the restraining order against Rocco Falconeri and Danny Morgan, Scout was also unable to visit Monica Quartermain at her home. Tracy worried about telling Monica if Drew died. As Tracy pondered what she would tell Monica if Drew died, Dante approached Anna to notify her that he had spotted muck and water at the rear door. Anna and Dante both believed that there were no traces of forced entry at the crime scene. In fact, Dante stated that the only item that appeared out of place was the softball bat on the floor. After Tracy was excused for stepping over the bat earlier, Anna and Dante began creating a long list of potential suspects for Drew Cain's death. Dante commented that there would be a big list. "Who's at the top?" she questioned. Kai and Trina discussed leaving Drew at the scene and their culpability back at her apartment with Kai. Trina began to worry about how leaving Drew made them appear guilty. "We already are guilty," he said. "How would we justify hiding in Drew's bedroom in the event of trespassing or burglary?" While he had a legitimate cause for being there as Drew's assistant, Kai pointed out that Trina did not. Later, when Kai checked his phone for any information on Drew, Trina became concerned that the police might seize the evidence Drew had against her mother during the inquiry. Then Kai handed her the envelope holding Heather Weber's falsified tests. "No one can find out that we were there, so I can't even tell my parents that they're safe," she complained. Michael Corinthos stepped in to see Wiley Corinthos awake and Brooke Lynn comforting him. He was soaking from the storm outside and dressed totally in black, having spoken with Christina Corinthos Davis and his mother. He apologized for not being present when Wiley awoke, telling his son that he would always be there for both him and his sister. "But that is what Mommy said. Now we never see her," the small kid lamented. Michael and Brooke Lynn attempt to console Wiley after Brooke Lynn reminded Wiley of the many family members who cared for him. Michael put his kid back into bed. Brooke Lynn returned to the kitchen and worried whether he was making the correct decision by blocking Willow from seeing the children. Michael remained convinced that Willow was too unstable to be around the children, leaving Brooke Lynn astounded to learn that she was returning to Drew. Willow was simply too unstable to be with their children. Michael stated that he would do anything to keep Willow away from Wiley and Amelia Corinthos. Willow and Portia learn of Drew's shooting after changing into dry scrubs after her rainy walk. Willow left the elevator and ran into Chase. Upon learning that Drew had been shot, she fainted in his arms. Willow later found herself in the break room wondering if Drew would make it through surgery. Meanwhile, while he and Liz readied Drew for the procedure, Lucas hoped to extricate the bullets without injuring his spinal cord. In Isaiah. Okay, wait, our second channel link to given in the description, please subscribe. He questioned hospital employees, reviewed surveillance footage, and attempted to track Willow's movements. Her last documented sighting was at the nurse's station about 7:15 p.m., after which she appeared to vanish. The uncertainty weighed on everyone, but as the minutes passed into hours, tensions rose. Michael became increasingly agitated, demanding answers that no one seemed able to provide. It wasn't long before whispers started, quiet but harsh, regarding who might have been behind Willow's disappearance. Nina's name came up almost immediately. She had a difficult history with Willow and had clashed with Michael numerous times. Carly, surprised, dismissed that hypothesis before it could acquire traction. She knew Nina could be manipulative, but she never imagined her going this far. Still, Michael inwardly blamed Nina, his mind racing with terrible possibilities as he battled to remain calm for the sake of his children. Meanwhile, Carly continued to notice Drew's unusual behavior, and his distraction became impossible to ignore. Finally, when she could get him alone, she confronted him. "Drew, what are you not telling me?" she demanded, her voice filled with distrust and terror. He initially tried to dismiss her, arguing that he was just as concerned about Willow as everyone else. But Carly's instincts had always been razor-sharp, and she could tell he was keeping something back. After several painful minutes of quiet, Drew eventually disclosed a startling truth. He had made a bargain a few weeks earlier that he now believes may have endangered Willow. Carly froze, staring at him in shock, her heart thumping in her ears as his confession poured forth. He had been working with an unknown person connected to Valentine's business affairs, attempting to gain influence for a different problem involving Aurora Media. Drew didn't realize at the time that the same contact belonged to a dangerous network with a vested interest in keeping secrets hidden. Carly couldn't believe what she heard. Her rage erupted quickly, the weight of Drew's reckless decisions bearing down on her. She accused him of putting Willow's life in danger without realizing it. Drew attempted to justify himself, claiming that he thought he was protecting their family's future. But Carly was not buying it. "You should have told me," she said, her voice shaking as tears welled up in her eyes. "You should have trusted me before you got us into this mess." Drew's remorse was stifling, yet he couldn't change his decisions. They went to Michael and recounted what Drew had revealed, ready themselves for his response. Michael's outrage was swift and fierce. He felt deceived not only by Drew, but also by Carly, who kept secrets, even if unwittingly. He hated Drew for putting Willow in danger and demanded to know who this strange contact was and what they wanted. Dante overheard the heated argument and quickly refocused the investigation. He thought that if Drew's connection was even remotely related to organized crime or unlawful operations, Willow's disappearance might not have been random at all. This thought sent shivers down Carly's spine, making the entire matter even more urgent. They started looking through Drew's communications, bank records, and meetings, attempting to unearth even the smallest indication. Meanwhile, the remainder of Port Charles was buzzing with speculation. Nina learned of Willow's absence and raced to the hospital, apparently shaken despite her difficult connection with her daughter. Her anxiety, however, did not prevent her from clashing with Michael, who coldly told her to keep away from the probe. The tension between them boiled over, yet Nina's remorse was obvious, as if she feared her previous deeds had contributed to this moment in some way. As the hours passed, more unsettling bits emerged. Dante was able to track down a mystery text message sent to Willow's phone earlier that day, pushing her to meet someone in the hospital's lower parking garage to discuss something important about Michael. This was the last recorded activity on her phone. When security investigated the cameras, they discovered that the film in that exact region had been cleverly altered, indicating that someone had meticulously planned this. Carly's terror worsened as the gravity of Drew's error became obvious. If Willow had been drawn away because of his actions, time was running short. Drew, overcome with guilt, decided to make amends, even if it meant putting himself in risk. He began contacting previous connections, attempting to retrace his movements and find the individual responsible. Carly reluctantly agreed to help, but her faith in him had been severely eroded. Late that night, Dante received a tip from an anonymous person who claimed to have witnessed Willow being forced into a black SUV on the outskirts of town. The vehicle was tracked back to a shell firm owned by one of Valentine's competitor investors, who was renowned for adopting extreme techniques to achieve their goals. This confirmed everyone's greatest fears. Willow's absence was not coincidental. It was deliberate. Michael insisted on joining the hunt, but Dante tried to stop him, fearing his emotions might impair his judgment. Carly, meanwhile, remained close to Michael, attempting to console him while privately condemning herself for not discovering Drew's secret sooner. The tension between her and Drew had reached a climax, with every interaction tinged with annoyance, regret, and an underlying concern that they might not be able to get Willow back in time. As morning came over Port Charles, the squad prepared to confront the network Drew had gotten himself involved with. Dante worked with federal officials, while Michael, despite reservations, insisted on becoming a part of the scheme. Carly watched Drew suit up for what could be a violent encounter, her heart in her throat, torn between fury and concern for his safety. When they finally tracked the SUV's signal to an abandoned warehouse outside the city, the confrontation felt like a nightmare. Inside they found evidence that, "I don't care what he thinks," Pascal growled. "This time you've crossed the line." Please leave your thoughts in the comments area below. Keep watching ABC soap operas to find out what happens next. According to the General Hospital recap for Wednesday, September 3rd, Drew Kane was hurried to surgery following Tracy Quartermain's gory discovery. Willow Tate also fainted in Harrison Chase's arms, so let's discuss what happened. Drew was left bleeding on the floor at his home by the shooter. Kai Taylor emerged from the bedroom armed with a bat and implored Trina Robinson to stay put, but she followed him to the living room nevertheless. Trina believed Drew was gravely injured, so she checked him and found he still had a pulse. Although Trina wanted to call for help, Kai claimed they couldn't stay there and persuaded her to leave with him when a car pulled up outside. Kai left the door open, so Tracy was the one who discovered Drew and attempted to stop the bleeding with a blanket. Tracy contacted 911, and Anna Devane and Dante Falconeri questioned her about what had happened. Tracy came going to confront Drew about all of the restraining order issues. There was also confirmation that Scout Quartermain was attending a camp sleepover, which was a relief. Dante and Anna noted that there was no indication of forced entry in the house, so they assumed that either the door was unlocked or Drew let his gunman inside. Kai and Trina had an unpleasant confrontation in her apartment. Trina struggled because they had just left without assisting Drew, but Kai believed bolting was the best option. Kai had a key and could have invented an excuse to justify his presence, but Trina had no reason to be there. In addition to shielding Trina from criminal charges, Kai came through for her by revealing that he had obtained the evidence against Portia Robinson. After looking at the file Kai stole, Trina realized she couldn't even tell Portia and Curtis Ashford they were safe because no one would know what they did tonight. Willow arrived at Jish soaking wet after bailing out in the midst of her shift and then returning. Elizabeth Baldwin questioned Willow, and then downplayed her unethical behavior to Lucas Jones. Lucas became concerned about Liz's position as chief nurse and what she was willing to let Willow get away with. Drew was taken in by paramedics and Lucas, Elizabeth, and the rest of the medical team began treating him. The gunshots were close to Drew's spine, so things were complicated. Drew required several transfusions and was eventually brought to surgery. Chase eventually approached Willow and updated her on Drew's shooting, causing her to faint in his arms. When Willow regained consciousness, she was anxious to learn more about Drew's situation. Michael Corinthos returned home from the Quartermaine mansion, soaked, to find Brooklyn Quartermaine comforting Wiley Corinthos with hot chocolate following a nightmare. Wiley was furious because Michael had not answered his phone, but Michael explained that he had forgotten it in the car. Michael reassured Wiley before speaking with Brooklyn alone. That sparked a debate about Willow returning to Drew, and how they would do whatever it needed to keep her away from the kids. At the Five Poppies Resort, Britt Westbourne returned to the room where Jocelyn, Jax, and Vaughn were being detained. Jocelyn admitted she was a WSB agent alongside Vaughn, which Britt found difficult to accept. Britt checked Vaughn's injuries and said he would live. Jocelyn begged for escape assistance, but Britt said there was only so much she could do and they'd have to help themselves. Britt was able to sneak Jocelyn a pair of manicure scissors, which Vaughn and Jocelyn used to free themselves. That resulted in Jocelyn and Vaughn ambushing the man who came to check on them later. Pascal was suspicious when he saw Britt go out of the captive room, but she pretended to be intrigued and advised him not to do anything without the boss there. Britt returned to her suite, where she struggled to make a call using the burner phone Jason Morgan had given her. Jason was at the airport when his phone finally rang, so he answered it and had difficulty comprehending Britt's garbled message. Britt urged Jason return right away, but Pascal overheard her phone call and became threatening. Pascal didn't care what the boss said. He believed that Britt had gone too far. Colette Moreau complained to Jack Brennan about his operatives failing to check in and acted as if the entire operation was a fiasco. Brennan assumed Colette wanted to watch him fail, but she pushed him to brief her and let her go clean up the mess. Carly Spencer interrupted, speaking privately with Brennan about her confrontation with Drew, and reflecting on how mistaken she was about her old flame. Carly was definitely struggling with trust issues, and feared that she was perhaps mistaken about Brennan. Brennan couldn't guarantee not to hurt Carly, but he acknowledged how awful the concept was and made her feel better. When Brennan learned of Drew's shooting, he claimed it was a good thing Carly was with him that evening, and that he clearly meant to be her alibi if necessary. Portia Robinson got into bed with Isaiah Gannon before being taken to the hospital. Portia learned about Drew's tragedy and intended to help with his operation. According to General Hospital spoilers, this Drew mystery will be full of surprises, so don't miss out on the chaos.